Brought to you by
Baba Yaga is one of the most famous yet confusing witches in Slavic folklore and children's fairy tales. If you run into her, you can't be sure whether she will eat you or speak tenderly to you and grant you your wishes. The legend of Baba Yaga probably arose when the religions of Europe contained a pantheon of gods and creatures, both of which controlled the forces of nature and the destiny of man. No one knows for sure when or where her story originated. However, it appears that she has been part of oral tradition in northeastern Europe and Russia for millennia. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. Strange things have been happening to Valentina, a young and beautiful professional photographer, ever since she made the acquaintance of Baba Yaga, a mysterious older woman who gave her a lift home late one night. For one thing, Valentina has been having weird, kinky nightmares. For another, one of Valentina's cameras seems to have acquired a deadly curse. And then there was the visit to Baba Yaga's house, where Valentina discovered bizarre relics, including a dominatrix doll and a bottomless pit in her living room. Valentina comes to realize that Baba Yaga is a witch who is out to possess her body and soul. From the opening of this film, I was immediately jealous of the protagonist's studio. What I wouldn't give to be able to move this show into a large studio space, rather than continuing to film it in the tiny corner of this cramped-ass apartment. But I'm already off topic. We open with a funky mix of 70s music, comic book art, and night motorcycle riding footage. The comic art is used for the film's opening credits, placing the titles in speech bubbles and panel spaces. This is an interesting choice that plays slightly into a comic element that appears throughout the film. For whatever reason, the audio of this film is incredibly out of sync, at least on the version that I watched. After a little digging, I found that this is actually an error that occurred with the original film print itself, and was never corrected when transferred over to DVD and now Blu-ray. The performances throughout the film are pretty solid for a film made in the exploitation era of cinema. Normally these feel overly hammy, but this one actually feels more like an Italian giallo than your run-of-the-mill sleaze. This is actually one of the first exploitation films that I have covered here on the channel. Hopefully, I'll be doing a lot more, because I find myself watching a lot of them lately with my friends over at the Grindhouse podcast. This one classifies as a type of exploitation called sexploitation. Though beyond frontal nudity, there isn't much that is overly sexual about this one, barring a few heavy bondage elements, I suppose. This film utilizes the whole comic concept pretty heavily by using frozen comic art levels to transition into the sexual acts, depicting what two characters want to do to each other before shifting us to them actually doing what they desire. The Baba Yaga character has an interesting design, gaunt and pale skin, white hair, yet not exactly old. Also, an all-black wardrobe like she's coming from a fucking funeral. She sort of reminds me of Cruella de Vil, with her big black car and long-stem cigarette. There's an idea presented in this film that I wish had been actually explored. Baba Yaga makes mention of the camera as an eye in this one. She says, and I quote, "the eye that freezes reality." She curses Valentina's camera, making it so that anything or anyone she takes a picture of either breaks or immediately collapses, essentially leading to their death. Yet, for some reason, even though she knows her camera is causing people to fall ill or die, she keeps using it, rather than using one of her other cameras. I feel they should have leaned into a more literal sense, having the camera freeze reality in some way. Maybe even placing subjects into some kind of comatose fugue state or something. They were pretty creative with the idea of Baba Yaga's living sex doll thing. This strange doll that she gifts to Valentina that actually ends up turning into a real living woman and attempts to kill people. Throughout the film, it feels as though its expressions change from shot to shot. And I love that they worked in how the doll's arm comes off during a fight at the end, which sort of makes me wonder if this fate would have befallen Valentina if Baba Yaga had gotten her way. This feels like a very artistic attempt at filmmaking. Much is told without words. It has its problems, sure, but none that can't be overlooked to some degree. There are moments where some of the background dialogue and audio overlaps the main audio track at the same volume and muddles things up, which honestly isn't too bad. It is incredibly distracting, but doesn't last too long. I have to give Baba Yaga a C. Personally, I can tell you that a lot of people wouldn't enjoy this. You really have to be a fan of that flawed and over-the-top style of Italian or Grindhouse-era filmmaking. If you are, there might be something here for you. For me, this was a fun and interesting experience, and if there's one thing that I learned from this viewing, it's that Italian detergent commercials are fucking wild. Movie Palette is an eye-catching and unique piece of artwork that holds a deep secret. Your friends and family will be intrigued by the fascinating story that each Movie Palette has to tell. Movie Palette is one of the most unique forms of movie-related art that I have ever seen. Each piece is handcrafted with the highest attention to quality and detail. Movie palettes consist of stripes of colors carefully chosen by their team of artists. Each stripe represents a color of a particular scene in a movie, and each stripe is put in chronological order to give you a perfect representation of your favorite films in one beautiful piece of artwork. The effect is stunning and accurate. As its secret is revealed, Movie Palette is sure to become a conversational piece as you try to guess which colors represent which scenes of the movie. The best part about these for me is that it's a piece of art that showcases the visual look of a film through the captivating color palette that makes it capture our imaginations. Not often do we see the color of a film so beautifully celebrated, which is why ETF has partnered with Movie Palette to bring you this exclusive offer. Head on over to moviepalette.com, pick the movie palette of your favorite film, and use promo code EMBRACE15 at checkout to get 15% off your purchase. That's EMBRACE15 to get 15% off your purchase from Movie Palette.